Hello, how are you? Welcome back. So I think this is episode 8, and I know last episode was pretty long, so we're trying to get a lot of stuff done in a very short amount of time. So I want to welcome everybody. So let's get started. So if you remember before, we came in with a bunch of our titanium whites, our zinc whites, our flake whites, and all that fun stuff. So we're going to continue today working with the whites, and we're going to finish this area up in here. And we're going to keep moving along. We'll add some more depth in there, and then we'll get on up into here. Then this painting will hopefully be done. Hopefully we'll finish this episode, but I very seriously doubt. So let's jump right into it. So we got this kind of looking like the way we wanted it to look. And yesterday I put in some of the blues, just a very small amounts of it right up in here. I do like that. So I want to continue on to put in some of the pewters and silvers in here to kind of push that blue back just a little bit, so we have kind of like a wave going on here. Alright, so let's get started. So we're going to start by, I think, adding in some more of our pewters and grays. So let me look at that here. Alrighty. So I hope everyone is having a wonderful day today. I know my day is going really well. The sun is out. It's not quite so cold out. So, alright. So I got my pewter here. Alright, so if you look here, we got kind of our blue that's kind of rolling over. We want this to kind of go up and over just to give it a little bit of fluid in with it. So I'm going to come in here, and I think right about in here we're going to start adding in some of the pewter. We're going to kind of dance it around here where we want our shadows and stuff to go. And let's see here, we're going to kind of continue this on up. And remember, if you want your whites to stick out, you need to put your shadows on both sides of it. So we're going to do that right up in here, almost right on top of that blue. I'm just going to dance it around a little bit. Alright, so then I'm going to take all the excess paint off the brush, so it's almost like we're dry brushing it here. Then you're just going to kind of go back and forth, kind of just blend that in, because our paint should still be wet from our last session. Just kind of dance it around and blend it on in with your other colors there. You want to get right up underneath and leave that line of white, because that will definitely add in some shadows and all of that fun stuff. Alright, so now let's go back and we're going to add in a little bit of our shadows here. So we're going to get our flake white. We'll just highlight some of those and drag it down in the direction we want it to go. And yes, it's all about transparent layers, layers upon layers upon layers. I get some of our zinc white in there. just adding in layers on top of these other layers, and it will all start to blend in together. So what you do is you just simply we're just simply building up layers upon layers upon layers until we kind of get the desired effect we want. As you can see here, we kind of got this nice line going here. We've got these lines coming down, and we have this in this awesome thing here. We've got it. So we've got kind of like these layers built up right in here. And you know what? I'm really starting to like the way that looks here. So I'm just going to adjust this last layer there. So you know what? I'm really kind of liking that, because we've got our blues behind it, and we've got this built up on top of it. So it's almost like we know that we have this line coming in this way, but it's kind of like broken up with some little bit of fluidity there. So why don't we now, you know what, we're going to, this right in here, I think we need to do a little bit of work right in there. But after that, I think we might be done with this section here. But yeah, let's work on this little line right here. I'm not exactly happy with that. So to fix that, let's add some of that Cremenza white. And so, yeah, we'll give it a shot here. And this is why I like painting wet, and I don't really mix my paints. I mix some paints beforehand, but I really do like mixing the paints on the actual canvas themselves because they're wet, and that way I can get the exact color that I want. So that's just, it works for me. You don't have to do it that way. I know a lot of artists don't, but for me personally, that's just the way that I enjoy doing it. So, all right, so this right here, I kind of want to add some stuff in here, so I'm just going to just dance around some lines in here, and then we're going to brush this way with it just to kind of add in a little bit of depth and all that. And we just drag it straight across. Now we're going to do a layer of that Cremenza white, but it's going to be really wet, and you'll notice the difference here. And then this is going to add us in some high spots that we will take advantage of here with our other whites. Alright, so now on top of that, I'm going to dry off our brush a little bit, and then we're going to jump right in with that flake white. And we're going to go right underneath some of those lines we did with that. We're going to pull it in the same direction. We're going to go right underneath that cremenza line. And we're going to dry brush it. You know what? We're going to back brush this here just a little bit to blend that in. We're just going to slightly pull it down to that darker shadow behind it. It's getting better. It's getting better. Let's take a step back and look at our painting here. You know, I do kind of like the way that turned out better. You know, but right here, still, let's just blend that a little better right in there. Just going to blend that just a little better. I like that. Yeah, I like that a lot. All right, you know what? Let's take some of our titanium white here. You know what? Check that. Zinc white. Let's grab our zinc white. And we're just going to kind of outline this just a little bit out there in the back. Then we're going to give just a dab of pewter to it. Just a dab. Alright, now I'm going to mix this together right here on the canvas. Just going to darken that in just a little bit there. So it adds to dab more of that pewter. We're just going to dance that around up in there. And we're going to brush that down just a little bit until we get kind of the shadows and stuff in there that we like. Just a touch more in there. Kind of coming up this way with it. Back around. Alright, let's take a step back and see how that's looking for us here. Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot there. It's subtle. It's nice. Alright, so you know what? Why don't we leave that for right now and we will jump into this area. Yeah, let's jump into this area here. Right in here, since we've been concentrated so much on this area. So we'll get this done. We'll work on this a little bit here, and then we'll come on down and we'll work a little bit more in here. Then eventually we'll make our way on over to this side of the canvas. So let's sit back and think, what exactly do we want to do with it? You know what? I'm not exactly happy with this line right here. So I'm thinking that line's gonna go away. How are we going to do that? Well, let's add, you guessed it, some more whites and all that fun stuff. Yeah, this painting is going to involve a lot of whites. So we need to do something with that line. So let's start with a zinc white. And that will give us a nice way to not erase per se, but it will give us a nice foundation to build up on. So why don't we just simply, we're just going to go right on top of it. If you notice how that zinc white just, it takes over everything you put it on top of. And we're just going to go down and just pull it down just a little bit here. And we're just gliding right barely on top of the canvas, so it is literally just hitting all the high points. So like all the textures and stuff that's on your canvas, or even the other paints itself, this will pick up on, and it will just pull straight down. So that's what we're doing. I'm just going to pull straight down on it, and it's just hitting the high points. And that's all we're doing. Going to right on over. I'm going to dry our brush off here just a little bit. And we're just going to hit it again with the dry brush, and that will help blend everything in. Every once in a while you can back brush just a little bit, and that will help with the blending. Yeah, kind of like that better there. Yeah, that did help with that line. And what's amazing is since we painted so thin with it, it actually comes out to being a little bit transparent, so you can still see your layers underneath, which is what you want. You always want to be able to see your layers underneath, in my opinion. So you know what, let's go on up with some more of that zinc white, but we're going to get it really thin here on this one. And I'm just going to dance it right in here. We're going to follow our other line, dance it on up. Alright, now we're going to dry our brush off. We're going to gently just bring that on in there. You can back brush a little bit. It will give us a little bit more depth that's going on in there. Alrighty. I'm going to change that a little bit because I had 3 lines stacked up on top there. We want to kind of bring that in just a little bit. There we go. We're just kind of blending everything in. Alright, so now I think I'm finally happy with that. So we're going to leave that alone because I like that. We got a little bit of textures going on, got some movement. So yeah, I know after what, 3 episodes of working on this one little space, we finally got it to where we like it. Well, I like it anyway, so we'll just sit back and admire our work, drink some coffee and be like, hey, I like that corner. You know, here's something. So if you guys are actually watching this and painting at home, you know, post a photo of your artwork. Let's check it out. Because I have faith in you that it's good. Alright, so now let's continue on up. And we want to do something with this area in here. Because we want to keep it fluid and moving on down. But the problem is this paint has probably dried. Yeah, so it's a little tacky, but it's not quite wet as we want it. So we're going to wet it just a little bit and add some more layers of paint in there. So I'm just kind of drying my brush off and thinking at the same time. A lot of art involves thinking. Thinking, and thinking. Alright, so why don't we try something different here? Let's peruse our paints here and see what we can add in there. How about some graphite gray? That'd be kind of cool, wouldn't it? Yeah, let's add some graphite gray. We're going to load our brush up too. Alright, so we're back onto our corner here, and remember this is our other line here. This is basically our horizon line. So let's start in with a pretty dark layer here. We're going to use that short brush stroke to bring that right up to that white. Now we're probably going to have to go back and do some more white on top of this so it blends in better. So don't stress out too much about, you know, if you go over your whites or whatever. It's okay, because we'll go back and we'll add in some more whites on top of it to blend it in better. But yeah, we're going to go right up to our previous lines, so we still have that darker outline back there. And we're just following, remember that line we put in before? We're basically just going back and following that same line. So we're using that short brush stroke so we can create that line. might have to switch to a bigger brush. And this one's going to be just completely dry. So we're just going to use it to blend all this in up here. If you notice, this gray is almost transparent here, which is fine. Because this is just our foundation. Alright, so we got our foundation going pretty well. And now we will go back with some of our other whites here. We're just going to go right off the bat with titanium white. You know what? I think we're going to use the bigger brush for this so we can get some of our big brush strokes. So put some of our linseed oil in a bigger tray. And we're going to wet our brush. We're really going to load that up with that titanium white. Now this is going to be another foundation layer, and it's going to almost cover up everything, but don't worry, remember your other colors are still there. So we're going to come in right in here. And it's going to mix right on in with that gray you originally put down. And it's going to give us the depth that we wanted. Alright, so now we got our grayish foundation going. And if you notice, I didn't bring it all the way up here because we still need to keep that shadow line intact. So now we're going to switch back to a smaller brush here. Make sure it's kind of dry. And then we'll grab some more of that titanium white here. Alright, so we got to figure out where we want our lines to be and all of that stuff. So let's take a look here. So we know we've got this one here that's going to come in and swirl around. So this needs to be a little darker than this one, but yet we still have this kind of harsh line right here that I'm still not quite sure that I like, but we want to keep it. But what we'll do is we're going to use this one to kind of break it up so your eye will still know it's there, but it won't necessarily be as bold as this, but yet when you look at it you'll still be able to see a movement line. So we'll go back and we're going to, you know what, we're going to start right up in here. And then we're going to bring that right to that. And we're going to bring our line. We're going to shrink our shadow line just a little bit there. And we're going to go up into here. You know what we might do? We might add a touch of that Prussian blue in there. Just a little bit. Because it is such a powerful blue that we literally don't need much. I mean, just a bare touch of it. We're just going to kind of dance that around up in there. And that's actually all we need. Now I'm actually cleaning my brush in between that one because I want to make sure that all the blue is off of my brush. Now we're going to grab some more of that neutral gray. Alrighty, so now let's kind of dance around that blue here. We're going to kind of mix it in just a little bit here. We're going to go almost up to our shadow line there, but we're going to keep it intact. You know, I think this is going to be another long episode because I'm having the hardest time, guys, shrinking these episodes down to 30 minutes. I really am. So this one might also be an hour long. So I do apologize, and tell you what, leave in the comments below if you want me to go back to the 30 minutes or you're happy with the hours. Just comment below and let me know. And so, or if you want to, it'll be an hour video. You can just skip ahead, get to the parts you want. So I don't, you guys tell me. I don't know. So, alrighty, so let's try. Okay, so we got this. Got some of our blues laid in. It's going to act as our shadows. So now we need to add in more of our flake white here. So let's do that. Let's add in our flake whites here. Yeah, because this is going to be one of our important layers here. So we're going to need to keep it to where it needs to be. So let me move my paint out of the way. Okay. And then we go tackling our flake white here. So we know this here is almost our other line. So we're going to start here, and then we're going to back brush it. And if you notice, we're getting into the colors that are underneath that other layer here. We're just going to dance this around. Getting a nice even coat of this flake white on there. because now we're going to go back. We're going to start adding in our pewter. Here we go. Alright. Let's get it kind of wet. Add in our pewter here. Bring it all the way up to our shadow line. We're just kind of mixing all that in together. Now we need to add some silver into that. You notice how I'm going in and pushing upward on it, so it's actually bringing in all the layers underneath while it's putting down a darker line. And remember, we want this to go back, so we got to always keep in mind what's happening on this layer here. And you can also kind of see where that blue is still back there and all that. And that's the glorious thing about painting with translucent colors and all the layers and stuff. That's why I always stress layers, 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 and layers. Alright, so now we got a dry brush unit going on here. So we're just going to take this and we're just going to blend in all of those harsh lines. And we will see what is going on now. As you can kind of see, I'm hitting the canvas really hard with my brush, and it's actually carving up this layer here, and it's laying down a thinner layer of it, and it's also bringing in all those layers underneath it. So that's what we're doing here. And it's also using it to add in some of our emotions and all that stuff there. And as always, if you guys have any questions, please leave in the comments below. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you guys might have pertaining to painting, life as an artist, or for that matter, anything whatsoever, just let me know. Alright, so this is it's blending very well. So now we've got a nice even blend of the canvas is still kind of wet. Everything's flowing really well. I'm going to go back. I'm going to kind of clean this up in here a little bit. So I'm just going to start by using that short brush stroke to going right up to our edge here. Just going to kind of bring that around. Alright, so we kind of cleaned up all these edges down here, and I'm still not quite very happy with this right in here. So, not exactly sure what I'm going to do with it yet. And so, but we shall see. We shall see. And so it's okay for every once in a while if you kind of step back and stare at your painting, because I do that for hours and hours on end. So yes, it's not all completely random. We do kind of just sit and stare and contemplate life and the universe and everything. 42! Alright. So let's go back, and now we're going to add in, let's add in a little bit of movement right in through here. Because, you know, I'm kind of liking this, because you know what? We started out like trying to paint clouds and everything, but you know what? It's almost like we're standing on an icy precipice, and we're kind of looking and staring into the abyss. So I don't know. Beautiful thing about abstract artwork, you can always change your mind. And you know what? I kind of like that idea. We're like standing here and we're staring off into the great abyss. So anyway, that's what it is right now, but we're probably going to change it once again. So let us work on, we're still going to work in this area right up in here, and then we're slowly going to bring it all the way in through here. So let us grab that some more of that flake white, and we're just going to be adding it in. Just dance it around. Just add it on in anywhere you want to. Just going to dance it around here. You know what? I kind of like that line there. So we're going to grab some zinc white really quick. I'm just going to kind of dance it around that on the bottom and on the top of it there. Alright, now that that line's marked out, we'll then take it, our dry brush, and we're just going to just pull it off gently. There we go. And it's up here, we're going to pull this way. And we'll go back and we'll blend that in just a little bit there. So this side we're going to pull this way and back this way. Alright. We're going to blend that all the way down to that right there. We're going to kind of go across like so. Then we'll go back with our flake white here. And we're going to go right underneath that zinc white there. So you basically have, you still have your two whites. Okay. I'm going to take that on over, and we're just going to blend that right in with our other ones. Then we're going to go back and grab our silver. We're going to get it really wet, load up our silver brush, and that way we're just going to come in here. We're going to accent that line just a little bit. Brush this just a little. Brush this one this way. Okay. Now we'll let that dry just a little bit, and then we'll just move right on down because we're still blocking all this in here, so that's just going to be rough blocking in of that. So now we need to figure out where we want our viewers' eyes to go. So remember, we have this line here that's going to bring people this way. So this one, since it's a little bit further back, why don't we bring the people's viewpoints this way? So we want them to kind of look this way and kind of that way at the same time. So let us see what we can do about that. Alright, so we're going to do some work in here to kind of add in some more depth to us here. So let us grab our flake white, put down a dab of flake white here, put down a dab of flake white here. Now since we want this to look like it is behind this here, we're going to need to darken it up a little bit. That's why, we'll go ahead and add in some of our neutral gray here tint, and we'll just kind of put that here in the background. So it will be there to go ahead and mix in with our flake white here. And we're just going to kind of continue that on around. Dance it on in there. Kind of use that a little rough there. Bring that on down in there. make sure we keep that darker shadow line in there, because we'll adjust that in a second. So just kind of keep that moving on. Alrighty, so we've got kind of like this blob there, so let's add some life into it, shall we? So we will start with the titanium white. You know, we're going to get this titanium white really wet. And then we're just going to kind of dance it around there a little bit. Then we will pull it, and it'll just stick to the high parts there. And you can actually see, when I mean wet, you'll actually see the linseed oil on the actual canvas. That's when I say paint with it wet. Paint with it wet. Because that one, it thins out our whites, and two, it will help blend it into all the layers underneath it. So yeah, we'll keep going there. Now, this is where we got to figure out what we want to do with our painting. So we have this, got this line here. Now, do we want to keep that line, or do we want that line to go away? So, I say we keep it, but we're going to make it to where it doesn't look quite so obvious. It'll be there, but it'll be there subconsciously. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our titanium white that is really thinned down, like really thin down. Then we're going to just dance right over it, like that right there. Just dance right over it. Then we're going to take it, we're just going to pull it very gently over it. Just very gently. So it's still there, it's just now behind a veil. So let's grab some more of this titanium white here. We're going to get it really wet. Really wet. I'm just going to come back. I mean, you can see how wet it is. It is just like barely on there. And remember, that was our thing before. We want to keep that, so we're just going to. You have to go above it as well. Tap down on it. And we're just going to bring that down. Alright. We're going to go ahead and tap that in there. Bring that down as well. Alright. We take our dry brush, and we're just going to gently brush it in the direction we want this to flow. Here. Of course, these are flowing upward. And then we're just going to gently over our line there. And we're going to go back with some of our flake white. We're going to go right underneath. Right underneath that line there. underneath it. And go right underneath it. Bring it down. We're going to swirl it back around this way because we want to keep that swirling action going. So you kind of see we kind of kept the swirling action going on there. And we're just going back and we're just continuing our brush strokes, going back and forth, back and forth. So I kind of like this better. We still have our dark line, but it's not as dark. It's still there. Because what we're going to do is we'll tie this all in. Once this layer dries a little bit, then we'll come back with our other whites and kind of continue these lines on across. And so it'll blend in quite nicely. And then, you know what? Why don't you know what I'm thinking? It's like this is the clouds are kind of dipping down here. So let's bring this down and we'll backpedal that just a little bit. Grab some of that titanium white. Where's our, we're going to dab a little bit of silver in there. To really just kind of liven that up just a little bit there. Put some more silver in there. I'm just going to dab that silver all the way up to our edge there. Add some depth and some life back into that. And then we're just going to go back. We're just going to blend that in nicely here. grab us some more of our silver here. So let me grab some out of the tube and all that fun stuff. All right. That's when we do this, we want to go up to our white, so but we still leave that little ledge of white there. So alright, and then once we get all of our little dabs down, then we're going to go back and we are going to just going to dry brush it out a little bit. We're going to go going in between our little wisps of white because it's adding shadows and all that fun stuff to our whites. And then we keep going. Just blend it all together. Just gently pull it back in either direction. And it blends right on in there. Just keep going right there with it. Alright. There we go. So now we got lots of... So there you see how we've got kind of like, we have movement, we added in a bunch of shadows and all that stuff, so now we've kind of got some, it's kind of going in and out and in and out. I kind of like that. And so we're just going to gently brush all that together. Okay, so not quite too happy with that in there, so we're going to change it up just a little bit there. So how we're going to fix that? We're just going to continue to brush it this way and that way, and we're just going to gently. We're going to keep moving the brush in the direction we want our viewers' eyes to go, which is around in this way, and then that way it goes. So I'm just going to continue brushing it this way, and every once in a while I'll zip it around that way. There, so I'm just going to gently blend all that in together there. We're still going to leave our darker spots there. Alrighty. So we'll just keep going on that way. Down and upwards, so I'm kind of brushing upwards this way now. Alright, so let's grab some of our to add in some of our Cremenza white here. So I'm going to add in some of that right here. I'm just going to dance it around right in here. Right up in here. Alright. And I'm going to go up with it here. So we just keep going right along up in there. Alright, so kind of like got like a little bridge going on here. Not the biggest fan of that, so I think we're going to take that out and we're just going to blend all this together here. And when we do that, it should open up a lot of that. So, yeah, see, there you go. Easy fix. Easy fix. Now, so thinking we need to adjust all this right in here. See, I like this here where it's coming down like here. So kind of like this. So we'll keep that in there. Then we're just gonna just brush that up in there. And I'll add some more effect in there. Then we will continue on back here with that. So touch more of this. Alright, so we're just going to add in some more of our pewter down here, and we're just going to kind of dance it around and bring it right up to our ledge here. We're just kind of bringing that up and dancing around with it, and we're seeing what kind of lines we like and what kind of lines we don't like and all that fun stuff. So we'll just continue that on around until we just kind of end up with just highlights of the whites and stuff, all from our layers underneath. We just keep dancing around with it. So, and sadly, it seems like this episode is going to be, right now we're working on over an hour. So tell you what, why don't we cut this video here and we'll pick this up. I'm thinking about dropping 2 episodes per week, maybe on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So you won't have to necessarily wait a complete week in between the episodes. And so think about doing that. So look for 2 episodes this week. It'll be Tuesdays and Thursdays. And anyway, people, I want to thank you so much for joining me in on this episode. And as always, please subscribe. Much love. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.